the 1950s, in the small town of Caribou Bay, Iowa, there stood a prison infamous for housing the most dangerous and insane criminals. This prison was the epicenter of a dark urban legend that has haunted the town for decades. One fateful night in 1954, a riot erupted within the prison walls. The prisoners, who had been meticulously planning their escape for months, seized their chance. They knew every guard's routine, every nook and cranny of the prison, and precisely when to strike. Chaos ensued as the inmates attacked the guards with brutal force. Blood spilled across the prison grounds, with guards being beaten to death and prisoners lynched in the pandemonium. Among the chaos, a group of prisoners managed to escape. They fled in every direction, but some found themselves drawn to an old, abandoned house on the outskirts of town. This house was notorious, known by locals as the most haunted building in the state. It had once belonged to a mobster named Charlie Gibbs, who met a gruesome end at the hands of his fellow gang members. Charlie had been a kind-hearted man, despite his involvement in organized crime. He had tried to make amends, but his past caught up with him. One night, the mobsters he owed money to came for him. They tortured him relentlessly, breaking his fingers, smashing his kneecaps, and ultimately hanging him in the attic. His spirit, filled with anger and sorrow, remained trapped in the house, seeking revenge on any who dared enter. The escaped prisoners, unaware of the full extent of the house's dark history, broke in and took refuge. The house was eerie, with boarded-up windows and dust-covered furniture. As midnight approached, an unsettling silence fell over the house. Suddenly, all the doors and windows slammed shut, trapping the prisoners inside. At the stroke of midnight, the hauntings began. Sinister laughter echoed through the halls, doors slammed, and ghostly whispers filled the air. The prisoners, who had faced countless horrors in the prison, were now terrified. One by one, they experienced the wrath of Charlie's vengeful spirit. The first prisoner to fall victim was dragged upstairs by an unseen force. The others followed the screams, witnessing a horrifying sight, an apparition of Charlie, dressed in a business suit and fedora, beating their friend with a bat. The ghost then tied the prisoner to a chair, breaking his fingers and kneecaps before dragging him to the attic and hanging him from the rafters. Panic set in as the remaining prisoners tried to find places to hide, but there was no escape from Charlie's wrath. He found each one, reliving the torture he had endured before killing them. One prisoner, Max Kaplan, who had been involved in Charlie's murder, was beaten with a lead pipe until he was black and blue, coughing up blood. Charlie then broke Max's fingers and kneecaps before hanging him in the attic. The last two prisoners hid in the butler's pantry, but Charlie possessed one of them, forcing him to kill his friend. The possessed prisoner, with eyes glowing red, beat his friend to death, dragged him to the attic, and hung him. Finally, Charlie saved the worst for Cain Alacio, the leader of the mobsters. He dragged Cain to a chair, doused the house in gasoline, and set it ablaze. Cain awoke to flames surrounding him, screaming in terror as he was burned alive. As the house burned to ashes, an angel of Black Death appeared and escorted Charlie's spirit to hell. The land where the house once stood became barren, with nothing able to grow or be built on it. The spirits of the prisoners and Charlie haunted the prison and the land, forever trapped in their torment. Locals in Caribou Bay still speak of the haunted prison and the cursed land, where the echoes of that fateful night can still be heard. The legend serves as a chilling reminder of the horrors that once transpired and the restless spirits that still roam.